Welcome all. Thank you for joining this workshop, and I hope you're enjoying the conference. This workshop is meant to bring together experts from public and private sector to inform and inspire you on how to fund projects on arts. We will see different funding streams and opportunities. We have several speakers, 4 speakers. Each will speak for 10 minutes. If you have any question, please put it in the chat or at the end, raise your hand. We will have normally 15 minutes to ask questions at the end. If you have any technical issues, don't hesitate to contact Domenico or the SPD person in the participants to ask any questions. Please remain muted during the presentation so that there's no sound that interrupts the speakers. Otherwise, we will have another session starting at 12. So we will have to be very strict with the timing, and we will have to stop a few minutes before 12, whatever we are doing, unfortunately. So those technical parts being said, we have today someone again from Creative Europe. Yesterday we had Barbara Gessler, and today we have Pedro Velasquez Hernandez, who is coming from the Creative Europe unit, and who will present how this funding opportunity can be used for cultural and social inclusion programs. Afterwards, we'll have another person from the European Commission with Marta Gutierrez-Bennett, who joined us yesterday also to present more the Erasmus Plus funding stream and how they cover different aspects of funding, and so you have to be very careful which is the most appropriate for your project. We then have Stefania Coney from the Fondazione CRT, representing private funders, and finally Graciela Murga, who will present the ABBA project, which is a Creative Europe project promoting art and leisure for persons with disabilities. So I'm sure it will be very interesting. 4 speakers, I will ask you to stick to the 10 minutes allocated. And Pedro, if you would like to open the stage, you can share a presentation if you have one, or dive directly in. Thank you. You are muted.
That's much better. Otherwise, I was speaking to myself. Thank you very much. No, I do not have a presentation, but I can send some presentation if you're interested, some PowerPoint with the main priorities and elements of the program. I believe, or it is my understanding, that many of the people attending this event are quite knowledgeable about Creative Europe program. But despite that, I mean, I will go into some details. Just apologies if those are details that you already know. You will have some opportunity for coming back to specific points after my intervention at the round table. Creative Europe, as most of you know, has 2 main objectives. Important to always remember that the objectives of Creative Europe are very simple. The first one is to ensure the diversity, to protect and promote the diversity in Europe, the cultural diversity in Europe. And the second is to contribute to the economic prosperity of the cultural and creative sectors. Of course, when we talk about promoting diversity, this is obviously related to the rich cultural diversity and cultural heritage of every corner of Europe. But for us, it is also about who takes part in culture and who shapes culture, indeed. It's not a passive approach to culture, but an active approach to culture that we understand as diversity. This is why equal opportunities is embedded in Creative Europe since its beginning. Almost all funded projects until now address one or several equal opportunity themes. This can be gender equality, migrants, race and ethnic origin, but Of course, especially high on the agenda are disability and special needs. We cannot forget other frequently addressed themes as aging, sexual orientation, or religion and beliefs. So the way minorities are portrayed in the media and advertising, and the underrepresentation of these groups in cultural and creative professions have a key impact on stereotypes. This is something we want to address also with Creative Europe. Here I'm talking about the culture part of Creative Europe, not about media. And you all know the high impact that media productions can have on the way minorities are portrayed. So the media and cultural sectors have a very important role in shaping people's beliefs and as well in questioning the reality. So for us, they are key vehicles for changing attitudes and challenging stereotypes. This is very important in the sense that I want to underline that Creative Europe tried to be quite active in this approach of minorities and social inclusion. So access and representation in culture is therefore equally essential to fight discrimination and favor integrations. It's not only about promoting access, it's about being active in culture. So we have a lot of projects, well, perhaps less than we wished, but we have a broad variety of projects that have tackled this topic since 2014. I could go through several examples I can share with you later on. The future programs, of course, and now we are at the end of this period and we'll start in 2021, the future program will go into the same line and will try to even foster inclusion as a more important aspect in its action. So the new Creative Europe program, I'm not going into a detailed description of this. Most of you know this, know the content. Basically, we have managed to propose a program which is still under negotiation, which increases the amount, the budget of the current program. This amount can be calculated on 33% of increase in the budget. And basically, it's a program that is an evolution of the previous one, not a revolution. Basically, we will keep the same actions with some novelties like promoting individual mobility. That is a new action in the future program. And an approach, a sectoral approach in complementarity to the existing actions. The main two objectives remain the same, the one that I mentioned about diversity, cultural diversity, and economic prosperity. There is an important accent put into synergies and complementarity, and it's interesting nowadays because we have a very good example of how we are already working in synergy with a program like Erasmus Plus. And Marta, I'm sure she will mention about the extraordinary Erasmus calls that address the cultural and creative sectors. And it is important also in terms of cooperation and synergy with other funds that are very important for disability, like the structural funds and the European social funds, namely. Of course, we are now in a period of designing the future program. It's a bit difficult because on the one side we are still negotiating. Also, the legislator, the Parliament, and the Council are still negotiating the future program. So we don't know exactly what will be the final legal base of the program. But on the basis of what is in the table, we are already working on the future, and especially we are working also in shaping the European cooperation projects of after 2020. We are, of course, waiting that the legal basis is adopted to launch immediately the first call for European cooperation projects for 2021 budget. We know we are already late with in relation with previous years, but this is the reality, and as soon as possible we will launch this European cooperation call. Most probably, and I always, as I said, there is no legal basis yet. Whatever I say depends on several external factors, but most probably the European cooperation projects will keep contributing to audience development and improving access to cultural and creative works, with particular focus on several categories of people, including, of course, and people with disabilities and other underrepresented groups. And of course, an important objective of these European cooperation projects will be to contribute to innovation and creativity in the field of culture. This will be declined in the priorities, and of course, we will keep having a priority on and strengthen audience development and access for people with disabilities. And apart from these priorities and objectives that are maintained, we will most probably have some novelties in terms of categories of projects. Until now, we had small and big projects. We are going to introduce, if possible, one intermediate category. So we'll have projects that are small, like today, up to 200,000 euros of grant, and then the big projects with 2 million, and we'll have most probably this intermediate category 1 million. Something that we are also working on is increasing, and this is very important, the co-funding rate. So I would like to go, at least for small projects, up to 80% of co-funding instead of the 50% existing today. This, I believe, is a very good news if we manage to confirm all of this. I would like also to mention an important, I mentioned individual mobility, and I will finish with this. And this is iPortunus, which is a testing of a mobility scheme for artists and cultural and creative professionals that has been quite successful in 2018 and 2019. Now we are entering into the last phase of testing, and there will be new calls in December. And there will be calls during all the 2021. This is addressed to individuals, not to organizations. And in the previous editions, we have been always very attentive to include and to have specific conditions for people with special needs. So there has been an important participation of people with special needs, and in any case, the program is designed to avoid any possible limitation of access of people with special needs to these calls. So I will stop here because I have reached my 10 minutes, and I, of course, am available for later questions if you still need to have some additional information from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. For information, we have the presentation of Barbara Gessler from yesterday, so we can also share it with participants if they want to have more information. Thank you very much for the presentation, very informative. I will immediately go to Marta Gutierrez to have the other part of the Commission presentation with the Erasmus Plus program.
Thank you, Tim. And as Pedro was saying, you will see, while I open the presentation, you will see that there are also a lot of synergies, not only in some of the objectives or the priorities that we have, but also perhaps in the type of projects that can be financed through the Erasmus Plus program as well. And I will, of course, talk about the specific call that we think can be very interesting for you. So first of all, the Erasmus Plus program is the program of the European Union for Education, Training, Youth and Sport. That means we have a very wide range of topics that we can tackle, always with a connection with the fields of higher education, school education, vocational education, adult education, youth and sport. But when it comes to the organizations that can participate, we have a very wide range of participation. It's very open. Again, the only thing that we really look at is that that there is a contribution to these educational fields. But then the cooperation is very wide between different type of organizations, and organizations like yours in the area of culture and creativity, also working with people with disabilities, etc., are very traditional target groups for us. When it comes to the process about the program, Pedro has very clearly explained the one that Creative Europe is going through with the negotiations and with the and the interinstitutional relations. This is very similar for us. We are negotiating the new legal base. So all the changes that we are presenting here are pending approval of the legal base, but we are going for quite a continuity and what we call evolution, not revolution, in what we know under the Erasmus Plus program. Here you have the basic structure of the program. We have it structured under 3 key actions. The first of them would be learning mobility, so the exchanges of teachers, of professors, of learners as we know them. And here, as I wanted to explain you, probably your organizations will have most of the opportunities in the youth field where the youth exchanges take place, the youth workers mobility, which is an area where culture and creativity is also used very often as a vector for projects. And we are offering a new type of participation activity, that is the youth participation activities under the new program, that can also maybe be very interesting for NGOs dealing also with youth. Under Key Action 2, we talk about cooperation between organizations. Again, you see here a snapshot of different types of cooperation that can happen at different levels with different thematic focus. But I wanted to focus here in the partnerships for cooperation. This is an evolution of the current strategic partnerships. And we think that this is, again, an area where you can have a lot of opportunities through your organizations, in particular through the cooperation partnerships and the small scale partnerships. Again, gives opportunities for a lot of cross-sectorial cooperation, cross-fertilization of different sectors, bringing together organizations with different angles, NGOs, schools, youth organizations, and developing different type of projects, methodologies, intellectual results, innovative processes. It's very open and very flexible for creativity. The small scale partnerships in particular, it's a new opportunity that we have for the future program that will address grassroots and newcomer organizations. So it's shorter projects with smaller grant amounts that will be really devoted to have a first time opportunity into the program, and then get the chance to grow into more ambitious opportunities. Key Action 3, it's a bit more scattered opportunities, more ad hoc in time, that are focused on some initiatives that are particularly relevant in a given moment, and usually require a higher experience within the program and more capacity as to operate as an organization at systemic level. You have the address here of the executive agency that manages most of these calls. Mostly they deal with dialogue with stakeholders, evidence gathering, service, etc., and policy experimentation. But the best is that you would regularly check this website to see what are the specific topics that are being called for in that area. Here I wanted to give you one example under the current KA2 strategic partnerships on how culture and creativity can be brought together also with the integration of people with disabilities. So it's an example of a Erasmus Plus funded project called Vision that use theater as a way to help visually impaired young people in 5 different countries to boost their physical and vocal self-confidence. You can read more about this project, but then I will also give you a link to the results platform where we put all the Erasmus Plus funded projects, and you can find inspiration. You can find more than 18,000 projects dealing with creativity and culture, more than 5,800 projects dealing with creativity and inclusion, 7,000 projects dealing with arts. So it's really a wide range of opportunities that you can find there. Just very quickly, again, as Pedro was saying also for the Creative Europe program, what are the key priorities for the future Erasmus+. For us, offering a more inclusive and accessible program, it's really at the heart of the new program. And for that, we are also devising a dedicated framework of inclusion measures, a dedicated strategy to really go through all the areas of the program and see how we can effectively make it more inclusive and how we can also involve participants with fewer opportunities at all stages of the program. Secondly, we also want to make the program more environmentally sustainable from the topics of the projects that we support, but also from the behaviors, from the practices that are carried out in our projects, but also in the implementation of the program. We also want to strengthen the use of digital tools and the promotion of the digital skills and competencies. This is also very much linked to the policy areas of the digital education action plan, etc. And we also want to enhance the active participation of our Erasmus Plus participants, not only in the program, but also in society. When they participate in mobility, that they engage more with the local community. When they come back, that they act as ambassadors, etc. Last but not least, Pedro also mentioned about that, we want to foster synergies between different areas. In this case, for example, linking better projects under Creative Europe and Erasmus+, seeking how there can be some possibilities of follow-up funding, of ensuring sustainability of projects between one and another funding source. This is just an example. There are many other funding sources that can complement our programs. And now we come to the jewel of the presentation. We wanted to really explain you about a specific strategic partnership called Open Now, still under the current program. These two calls for digital education readiness and what we call the partnerships for creativity were published as a way to also make the program more responding to the COVID-19 pandemic, and of course recognizing the fact that the pandemic has also hit it very hard, the culture and creative sectors. The call is open until the 29th of October, so you still have, let's say, 2 weeks to work on your proposals. And here in this slide, you can find a little bit more of information about what are the main priorities of this call. Again, you would need to cooperate with some actors in the education training youth field, but the approach is very open, and you can find all the detailed description of the rules in the link below of the Erasmus Plus program guide. Here is a small snapshot of how you can decide in which action you can participate, where you can find for inspiration, and how you can contact your national agencies until the moment that you can write your application and submit it. And one last piece of information I wanted to give you is that today and until Saturday, we are running the Erasmus Plus Days. This is a big communication and activity campaign that was started by the French National Agency colleagues 4 years ago. And now we have thousands of events all over Europe, many of them dealing with culture, heritage, creativity. So I invite you to follow some of them. You can see which ones are on offer there. Some useful links for you to really get all the information that you may need. You will receive this presentation as well, so you can read more about that, but I'm happy also to answer any of your questions today or even after the event. Many thanks for this, and well, I give you back the floor, Tim.
Thank you very much, Marta. So another interesting presentation. So here on the Erasmus funding program, as you can see, the two programs can be very useful for developing projects, but you have to match them to what fits best for your project. And there are many options. So yeah, don't hesitate to contact your national agency or other organization that can maybe help you guide you through which is the best funding for your project. And you can also, of course, contact the SPD if you have project ideas and are looking for partners. This was the European side of funding, but there are also a lot of opportunities in the private funding, a lot of foundations or other means. We have the opportunity today to have Fondazione CRT from Italy that have been funding a lot of projects, particularly in the field of arts and culture, with Stefania Coni to explain a bit what they have been doing.
Thank you, Timothy. Good morning, everyone. I am Stefania Coni, the International Project Coordinator of the CRT Foundation. And so thank you for inviting me, and I'll be pleased. I'm pleased to be able to present what we consider one of the most valuable projects which has created excellent results over the year. And I just would like to say this, that I see, and I'm very happy about that, that there is a growing interest from the European Commission to promote synergies also together with private entities like a philanthropic institution, as in a way or another we share the same aim, that is to say the public good and the public growth. So happy about that. Okay, I'm going to share a presentation. Can you see it? Okay. Good. Okay, can you see it?
Not yet, no.
No.
So share screen, select the page you want to share, and then.
Just a moment. Okay.
Yes, you're sharing now.
Okay. Great. Oh, there we are. There we go. Thank you. Okay, so museum operators and disability. This is just an example of, what we do. Quickly, so the idea and the need to act for accessibility of cultural heritage is rooted in the experience of Fondazione CRT gained through its high-level engagement with the 9th Paralympic Games that took place in Torino in 2006. Definitely the Olympic and Paralympic Games represented a formidable opportunity for Torino, and it was made clear that it would be imperative to act and work to make the museum and cultural heritage of the city accessible to all. So the need to train its staff on accessibility was expressed firstly by the museum in Torino. And it was at the moment that CRT Foundation, a philanthropic institution, decided to develop, together with Fondazione Paideia, a suitable program called Museum Operators and Disability. Okay, just you can see the foundation, CRT Foundation, is a private non-profit organization. It's a mainly grant-making foundation, active in 3 macro areas, which are art and culture, research and education, welfare, and territory. Even though we are strongly rooted, rooted in the territory, we have an international outlook, being member of some philanthropic international network like European Foundation Center. Well, Fondazione Paideia is an operational foundation that for over 20 years now works to assist families and children in difficulty. So this is, the objective of the program. This is to say, through specific training, Museum Operators and Disability Project aims at improving the professional skill set of museum operators and cultural professionals in the welcoming of visitors who have disabilities or special needs. Okay, good. Let's say that the project consists of different types of training. There are basic courses about different types of disability and the basic technique of communication and accommodation. There are in-depth seminars as well as beginner courses in Italian Sign Language relative to the museum and cultural heritage context, as well as workshops dedicated to the reception of visitors with autism. Yes, we normally like to underline at least 5 strands of this program. First, it's a joint project resulting from the teamwork between, let's say, a philanthropic institution, an operational foundation, and constant collaboration between the promoters and the recipients of the intervention. It's a transversal project that involves every member of the staff of a museum, from the bag check to the head curator and the director. It's a flexible project that develops and adapts to the needs expressed by the participants. And yes, we like very much that it's it has a strong motivational value based on the voluntary involvement of the staff who, on the only day of service, which is Monday, namely, decide to take part in a personal and professional growth path. And fifth, the project has a model that makes it easily replicable across different cultural organization staff, as well as across different territories. But I will say something more on later. Okay, from the start of the project in 2012, there have been, as you can read, 33 basic courses, 25 in-depth seminars, 7 courses in Italian Sign Language, and 4 workshops dedicated to autism. In all, a total of over 150 museums and cultural centers of the national territory have been involved, which means 950 staff members being trained. Okay. So, okay, fine. Okay, there we go. Yes, we like to think that the project Museum Operators and Disability is not just a training, but it's much more. Okay, in fact, in 2017, the project was the object of a publication. The book intends to promote an innovative definition of accessibility and stimulate a similar educational experience into other areas. Yes, the project is also a trendsetter. It means that in the first 2 years, the project was addressed only to cultural operators of the Turin area. From 2014, requests arrived from organizations outside Turin who wish to participate from the regional and the national level. So we decided to open the course also to these organizations, but not only actually. The format of the project was then replicated in different regions upon the request of museums and cultural centers who wish to train their own staff using the course materials. You can see 4 regions, apart from Piedmont, where Torino is, also Liguria, Veneto, and Friuli Venezia Giulia. And in addition, since 2018, the training was also being opened up to performing arts, community, and libraries. Okay, and then, yes, of course, the project has also been a driving force for the organization of public events around the concept of accessibility. The first one was in March 2017, Museum Towards the Culture of Hospitality, which was a training day dedicated to museums directors, aimed at raising the awareness that accessibility is not just the removal of structural barriers, but also the removal of relation barriers. And of course, it was important to invite the directors, because I mean, they are the manager of the entire museum, of the entire staff of a museum. The second event, From Art for All to Everyone's Art, well, it was made on the occasion of the 2018 European Year of Cultural Heritage. And this conference, yes, we want to organize this to underline mainly the message that art can not only be enjoyed by everyone, but art can also be created by everyone. And here are a few examples of the artwork that we created during the conference by artists with disabilities and special needs. And the artworks are now officially part of the contemporary art collection at the OGR in Turin, which is a creative, let's say, creative center, but even much more. Then, over the years, as you can see, the project has evolved in numerous ways. One is that in 2019, practical learning labs were developed inside museum or cultural centers in order to put into practice the skill learned, develop operational tools and organizational design. As a direct result from the participation in the labs, museums and centers have already developed new projects for accessibility, and some have already begun implementation, and also thanks to the financial support from foundation and not only. This happens, for instance,
try
in
to wrap up.
Okay. Okay, I try to go quickly. Of course, with the COVID, the course, imagine that normally held in person, have a capacity of maximum 25, 30 people. With the current pandemic, the training foreseen last spring has been switched to an online formula, which has also allowed the participation of a greater number of participants, also from other regions. So moving to classes of an live. However, obviously, the online training was unable to replicate the same level of relationship and communication among participants that normally physical courses has. Okay, yes, the 11th SDG refers to sustainable cities, and we do believe that a city is sustainable when it is also accessible to all. If I may, I just would like to I don't know if I have the time, but I would like okay, this was an example of what a philanthropic institution, private philanthropic institution can do. And, but what we like the most is to do programs, projects together with other organizations. I'd like to mention the European Foundation Center thematic network on art and culture, where these the project Operatori and disability has been represented. So is one of the top funded areas by EFC members. Indeed, the role of philanthropy in promoting cultural exchange and the arts is growing, definitely. Within this group, you see these are the foundation involved. And we tackle different areas like audience engagement and cultural participation, social inclusion, health and well-being. But I would like also to mention another thematic network, always within the European Foundation Center, which is an international network of philanthropic organizations gathering together 250 members. From all over Europe but also United States. And so here is another example of thematic network on disability this time. And let's say this network serves as an open forum for philanthropic organizations to exchange, learn and connect about issues related to disability. Within this thematic network, there was a project called League of Accessible and Historical Cities. And the project has been the basis of inspiration for a new initiative involving some of the former members of the league, like Fundación 11, etc. And together we decided to present a project to the European Commission called STRING project, Smart Tourist Route for Inclusive Groups. a translational cooperation initiatives aiming at creating fully accessible itineraries in Italy, Spain, Bulgaria, and France. And the European Commission decided to accept our proposal. And so we were happy to have the opportunity to experience also collaborating together and also together a European institution. Okay, yes, this is a project I was telling you. So thank you very much for the attention from all the staff. I would like to go to my colleague Valentina Jebole, who is the program coordinator in CRT Foundation for this program, Museum Operators and Disability. But unfortunately today she was engaged in another training event, so could not take part. And thank you also to Fondazione Paideia and namely to Gabriella da Milano, who is the manager of the in Fondazione Paideia for the project. So thank you very much to everyone.
Thank you, Stefania. And it's very interesting indeed to listen to what has been done. You can stop the sharing of your screen.
Yes.
And indeed, as you said, synergies are very important to find between the different funders, between what you are doing. And we see there's a lot of other funders with the EFC network that offer a lot of opportunities, and that can be combined with the European Commission funding and also, of course, national funding. So it's very good to keep in contact and find these contact points to learn more about how they can fund your projects. Marta mentioned some examples of projects funded by Erasmus Plus. We have also with the SPD and Cope Foundation the CIAE project that was funded in that line. And for Creative Europe, we have the ABBA project that ESP participated in together with ENCC, and that will be presented now by Graciela Murga, the outputs and the development of such a project so that you can see how you could develop your own project in that field. Graciela.
Welcome. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this workshop. My name is Graciela Murga, and I am project officer at the European Network of Cultural Centers, and I am working in diversity and inclusion projects. I am also an artist, a cultural manager, and therapist. I founded and manage since 2004 a cultural center with social and artistic objectives named The Bridge and based in Brussels. But I am here today to inspire you and show you how in a togetherness spirit to get and achieve a European international project is possible. And I will tell you the story of ABBA project. And as I'm closing this speaker session, I will try to do it in a simple and artistic way. So I will share my screen with you. Do you see? Are you seeing my screen?
Unfortunately, no.
No.
Are you seeing my screen?
No.
Oh, wait a little bit. There? Do you see the screen?
No. If you want, we can share the screen on our side.
Now?
Yes, it's coming.
Yes? Okay.
Yes.
Good. I will just maybe cut. Okay. So I will. Okay. So this is the story of ABBA, co-founded by the Creative Europe program of the European Union. Or how can a project come true? Once upon a time, in 2015, the chairman of the ENCC, the European Network of Cultural Centers, Ivo Peters, saw Kukunor, a theater play performed in Tampere, Finland, and written by Eero Enqvist. He was so impressed. The first thought which came to him was, how could I bring to life this project in Belgium and other countries? Because he was really, really impressed. Kukunor was very special because it was a completely inclusive theater play featuring deaf and hearing actors. And that is the reason why this European project, ABBA, which stands for Audiences Blending by Arts, has been created. ABBA focused on the inclusion of persons with different abilities in arts and cultural sector. And what was the next step? It was, of course, to find partners. And we found partners from Croatia, Portugal, Bulgaria, Finland, and the UK, plus 2 international networks, the European Association of Service Providers, EASPD, and the ENCC. The best way to make this project happen was obviously to make a Creative Europe project in order to get the funding of the European Commission. But we wanted also to explore how the cultural sector and the disability service provider sector can link together, work, learn from each other, and create a winning cooperation. Making an inclusive project enrich cultural associations and artists. That is the main idea of a more inclusive society. Sometimes we find problems and we get lost, of course. We don't know where to go, and it is really difficult. But we believe that together we end up finding the way. And now I would like to shortly share with you a little personal experience that I had while working in ABBA project in Lisbon. It was the evening of Kukunor's premiere, and the doors of the theater finally opened. There were a fantastic atmosphere of sounds and lights. And the audience slowly settles in. And the artists come to each of us in the audience with a basket full of small papers. Each of us had to take a small piece of paper with a word, which the artist will show and translate into sign language. I randomly took out the word music, and the magic was there because I am a musician. And that evening, I learned to say music in sign language. And I was really, really very happy. But I've also learned about other ways of communicating, the magic of inclusion and art, and the pleasure of bringing them together. It was an unforgettable moment that made me be here today with you, sharing this magic with you, to inspire you and encourage you to start an inclusive and creative project and to make connections. Yes, the goal was finally achieved. Indeed, the audience was really mixed. And it was amazing to realize that at the end, we didn't know anymore who was deaf or who was speaking. ABBA is an extraordinary example of how to make a project succeed through unity between artists, service providers, and international networks. Thank you very, very much. Thank you very much to all.
Thank you very much, Graciela. It's a very nice presentation. It's a pleasure to see it again. And very inspiring projects. It was very interesting to be part of it, to see it develop and see its success. And so this is one example of the project developed in the Creative Europe. As I said, we have also already developed a project with the Erasmus Plus funding, and there are many other opportunities. With the current COVID pandemic, it creates a lot of new challenges to face, and different funders are also very often interested in how to blend culture and digital tools and how to overcome these challenges together. So if you have any ideas of projects, it will be good to follow these. It's important to follow the calls to see how they are when they are launched. So you can follow the EC and the foundation. You can also follow ESPD's social media, where we try to share the calls and share your ideas with us. We have 2 minutes. So if there's some questions, I will take unfortunately only one. So if you have a question, you can put it in the chat or raise your hand. If you don't have questions that were not answered today, I'm very sorry. Don't hesitate to send your question to myself or anyone on the ESPD team, or directly to the speakers, and we can relay then your question or the contact, so you can continue the conversation afterwards. Okay. I don't see any question right now. We'll not push for it, unfortunately. We have our next session starting in 5 minutes, so that you have a bit of time to breathe. It is the same link as the morning session. We will now talk about the EU and how the EU can support inclusion in art, and what can policymakers do with the head of art and disability at the European Union for the British Council. A representative from the European Parliament, Pat Clark from the European Disability Forum, and Owen Nash, the chair of the ESPD Member Forum on Arts and Culture. So be sure to join in 5 minutes. Thank you to all speakers for the very interesting and very inspiring presentation. It has been a pleasure to listen to you, and thank you for taking the time to share with you your experience. Thank you to the participants for joining us. I hope you were inspired and you had some ideas, and I hope to hear from you very soon. And I wish you a very pleasant end of conference.